Dev Diary. Support company rework. It was in my list of things that I thought they would change in future. And the reason for it is I thought that support companies have not been looked at for a really long time. I also thought that support companies seemed quite simple. Like it was just a matter of well, I don't know, field hospital 1, 2, 3, or 4. But it feels like some of the other systems in the game, such as like tanks and planes, have got like different equipment parts and modules and things you can build, where some support companies are kind of like very simple. So I feel like it was an area that kind of needed a little bit of polish. It doesn't look like it's getting a full-blown update. This looks to me, which I'm going to refer to unofficially as a soft rework. They change the mechanics, adapt them, modernize them, make it a new system that you can learn in game. However, not like completely reworking how the mechanic works. So it's not kind of like a support company design, to put it that way, which I think is never going to happen. But in this case, we're just getting a more of a softer update. What are those updates? What are the details? Let's talk about them. Engineers are getting reworked. So instead of engineers giving a flat maximum of +10 to entrenchment, and then with each sequential upgrade of engineers giving an additional, oh man, is it +2 to entrenchment or +5? I forget, I've lost track. And also special bonuses for attacking into different terrain types and defenses if it's different terrain types. It will now scale based on the overall size of the division. Now, the most confusing part of this dev diary is, why are they doing this said change? Are they trying to disincentivize you making smaller divisions? Are you trying to incentivize larger divisions? It's always more flexible to have, let's say, 4 10 widths than it is to have 1 40 width. Because remember, the 4 10 widths can hold the front line in different areas. They can maneuver back and forth. So having a very big divisions on the front line is always going to limit your mobility overall. However, the 40 width will do overall more damage. Engineers would give a bonus of 5 entrenchment. I said 10. I don't know where I got 5 from. At the most basic level, and here we are only getting 2. So this division here, which is an 18 width infantry with an engineer, which is the starting infantry division for Germany, has only 2 entrenchment. Apparently it's actually 2.25 apparently. Oh, okay. And the reason why that's the case is because for every single battalion of infantry, it is gaining 0.25 entrenchment. So the engineer is taking advantage of how many infantry battalions there are to scale its bonus. So technically, battalion modifier is basically scaled based on how many infantry battalions are overall in that individual infantry division. So let's do the maths. So we do the classic 44 width, which is 22 infantry battalions, and we times that by 0.25. And that gives us 5.5 entrenchment. So it basically gives us a tiny little bit more entrenchment compared to a traditional division. Or if we went for a massive 50 width, by the way, if you're not already aware of combat width meta, a 50 width is incredibly unoptimal. But if you were to do that, it would equate to 6.25 of overall maximum entrenchment. You know, regardless of whether I did that numbered wrong, and I probably think I did do it wrong, regardless, it's not really worth it to try and max out your overall combat width just to take advantage of this bonus. So here comes back to my original question. Why? Why are they making this change? And here for a little bit more detail, the breakdown of why. Engineers are no longer begin by applying a flat bonus of 5 entrenchment, as it said. Instead, the initial stats will give a bonus of 0.25 per leg infantry. This is interesting. So now we have a combination of leg infantry and horses, and the engineer is only adding the entrenchment bonus for each infantry battalion. So that means you're less incentivized to adding engineers onto tanks, adding on onto horse divisions, potentially even adding them on to special forces, because it just says leg infantry. Is it referring to leg infantry as only an infantry battalion, or every single battalion that has legs? I'm almost certain that leg infantry just applies to this battalion, but I could be wrong. As you can see, the bonus does not apply to cavalry divisions. I have wisely placed in my infantry division. We'll go into the rationale behind this specific change later, but so far it is the following. Support companies now confer a Support companies now confer a multiplicative or additional bonus to line battalions of specific categories within their own division. You know, I'm starting to get this now, and I think the reason why they're doing this is they're trying to say that certain support companies work in better synergy with different battalion types. In a way, it's kind of going to make the gameplay a little bit more linear, but I guess it would disincentivize certain support companies getting used, for instance, with, let's say, cavalry, for instance, or tank divisions, for instance, which at the current meta, everyone adds engineers onto everything. I know what you guys are going to say. You're going to say, oh, but Dave, you hate engineers. Listen, my opinion on engineers has not changed, okay? I suppose I'm thankful in a way, because now I can say to you guys, you have less of an incentive to make engineers. I personally think the attack and defense bonuses you get from engineers are not that great, and entrenchment is really something that you only really don't use on the defensive anyway. So for my personal opinion, I don't include engineers on my offensive divisions. You do you, okay? While this may be a small change, this allows us to better represent the effects of certain doctrinal advances or technologies, and also adds completely new dimension to considering when to choosing support companies. So that's exactly what I've just said. It basically says now you've got to make a sound choice. You've got to rub those two brain cells together now and decide if a support company will benefit you enough for it to make it worth your while. But there's another part of this, a secret little bit inside here. Certain doctrinal advancement. Are we going to see a full rework of doctrines? Is it going to be a hard rework? Are they going to rework all the doctrine trees? Or is it going to be more of a soft rework where they're just going to change a few numbers around? But it looks like doctrines will now have more of an impact on what support companies you add on to your divisions. Oh, this is so good, because this is going to completely change the way the game works. Oh, it's such a good change. So a bunch of other support companies are going through changes, and it says subject to change as well. So be aware, these aren't set in stone. These may change at any point. So don't get excited. Don't get disappointed. Just be like, they're changing, but we don't know how they're changing yet. Just wait. Just wait. It's coming. Entities will be changed a little bit. They remain a flat entrenchment they gain from tech, but by moving the entrenchment more towards per battalion balancing value, we're able to flatten the efficiency of entrenchment and devalue it slightly for org wall play styles. You know, in a weird way, like it's saying here, this actually does make sense, because at the end of the day, why would you have the same level of entrenchment on a 2-width infantry compared to a 40-width? It doesn't make sense, really. Surely the more shovels you've got, the more entrenchment you can offer. Surely that would give you more entrenchment in the real world, wouldn't it? The neglected child of the support company is finally getting new tools, the Recon division. Wow, Recon meta. Where did this go? So we had default horse Recon to begin with, which didn't really affect the division as a whole. Then we went through the phase of a light tank recon meta that added like space marines to add on to every infantry type. I know we've reached a point with recon where for the most part no one really uses it because the bonuses are all pretty weak overall. However, they are adding a 10% soft attack bonus to all battalions matching the artillery category. So if you have a mounted recon, motorized recon, or armored recon, specifically those three kinds, they will give you a 10% soft attack bonus to artillery battalions. Just artillery battalions. Now, if this was to affect the whole division as a whole, this would be mad OP, but it's only adding that 10% bonus on top of artillery battalions, not support. It doesn't specifically say support, but it might be support, but the wording of this implies battalions of artillery. We're making the choice to stress the benefits of recon on artillery rather than general infantry here for the game balance reasons. This is such a good change because it gives you another incentive to add recon for onto that said infantry division, which is so good. One of the most popular builds that I use quite frequently, and a bunch of other YouTubers too, like Torior, is they like to make 7-2s or 7-2 variants. 7 battalions of infantry and 2 battalions of artillery. It's going to go without saying that that meta will now have a form of recon on it, either an armored car, motorized, or mounted recon, to take advantage of overall more soft attack, which that division does the most of. Don't get me wrong, guys. I understand there are more optimal builds, but for cost effectiveness, for soft attack and overall prediction cost, 7-2s are still king. If you disagree, you're wrong. Now, light tank recon are going to work a little bit differently. They will give a 10% hard attack bonus to all armored battalions, specifically only armored battalions. And because you can design your tank divisions now to specifically design them to have loads and loads of hard attack, that means this 10% bonus can add a massive impact to an armored division. This one can actually be scary because overall this means you are adding on potentially a huge amount of hard attack onto an armored division. It goes without saying, MP meta will always have a light tank recon added onto the armor division to take advantage of hard attack bonus. In multiplayer games, piercing and hard attack is king, whereas you play against AI, you tend to focus more on soft attack armor divisions. Recon also has some other new toys, some of which we'll cover in the Doctrines. So once again, as I think Doctrines are getting reworked, and others in later dev diaries under the new category of new cool stuff. So it looks like Recon are getting bonuses that you get from Doctrines, or there might be reworking how the reconnaissance stat works overall. Field hospitals, slightly left field modifier. Field hospitals now increase strength. Oh, that's a good joke. Good joke. Field hospitals now increase strength of HP of all infantry battalions within their division by 10%. That's a massive amount. Would that incentivize me to actually make field hospitals? So this would take advantage of the XP saving, the less casualties sustained, and then also on top of that, a HP bonus, which says will proportionately cause you to sustain less manpower loss and less equipment loss per damage received. It's important to remember that HP kind of boosts equipment retention as well. It's important to remember that. This one's a strange one because at the minute, flame tanks are the meta. Everyone makes flame tanks. But now they're deciding to add an extra 5% breakthrough for all infantry battalions attached. Interesting. A 7.2 now will have a mounted recon on it and also a flame tank. It goes without saying, extra 10% soft attack, an extra 5% breakthrough. You know my fear with these changes? I think these are too much of a buff for infantry. And at the moment, in single player AI games, I feel like you disincentivize for making tanks if you're a minor nation because they're just too expensive. And I feel like the more that you buff infantry, the more that you kind of disincentivize people from making tanks. It is what it is. Military police now will not just be used for garrisons. If they are part of an infantry division, each infantry battalion will give a 20% bonus to base org recovery rate. So if you notice, a lot of communist nations in Hoi 4 get this increase in division organization recovery rate. So whenever you're in combat, you lose org, and then when you're not in combat or when you're walking around, you regain organization. Recovery rate is exactly that. You regain it faster so you can continue your assault or continue your defense for longer periods. It's going to be really interesting to see if you were to stack as much division recovery rate, potentially how well you could attack or defend by. And surprisingly as well, this is another buff to infantry battalions. Strange that a lot of these are all infantry based. Is this enough to incentivize me to add military police on? No, but if I was in a situation where I wanted to maximize my defense, I would definitely be having military police added on. So here we go. These are some doctrine changes. Signal companies will grant an additional 10% defense for all artillery battalions in a division. So if a signal company is attached on, for every artillery battalion, you'll gain an extra 10% extra defense. For the most part, I don't think line artillery even has much defense. So how much of a bonus would this even be? But that's interesting. It's a different change. There's many layers to it. You know, signal, artillery battalion, defense. There's like so many layers to it. So you've got to kind of think about it. Next one is air land battle here. Standard recon grants 10% air attack to anti-air battalions in the division. Wow. And 10% is pretty girthy as well. Air land battle is the final doctrine at the bottom of here. And in a weird way, they're actually not showing the bottom of here. Are they trying to make us aware that there might be extra doctrines at the bottom of here? Ooh. Under the air land battle of superior firepower on the left-hand side, air land battle, this one here, that's been highlighted, is the final doctrine at the very bottom. Now, I always said that the final doctrine should give you some extra bonus, give an extra edge if you were the first one to reach that said doctrine, which I think extra 10% air attack is really good. It really does solidify your control of the air if you have maximum air attack and also big bonuses to air superiority, which is awesome. There might be a chance there's more doctrines down here. I'm taking a shot in the dark here. I actually don't know. However, this one is mighty fine on OP. Really, really OP. It's quite common that I'll add like one battalion of anti-air onto my divisions. An extra 10% extra air attack is massive to say it's free as well. It's a passive bonus. Win-win. Next up, we have the mechanized wave. Armored cars grant +1 extra organization to all leg infantry battalions in the division. So armored car recon as a part of the division as a support. Now, for every single infantry, leg infantry, as a part of the division, it'll give you an additional +1 organization. This isn't a massive increase, But overall, for instance, for Germany that already gets a bonus to overall organization, this is actually really massive. Of course, it's mechanized wave though. So this is the Grand Battle Plan Doctrine path. This definitely changes how you are actually going to play the game though. That's massive. And finally, we have central planning logistics companies add 5% defense to all infantry battalions in the division. I don't know what to say about this really. So let's just think about that for a second. Most of the time when you add a logistics on to a division, it's because it's a high supply division and you were trying to reduce overall the amount of supply that division uses. However, this is reducing the supply of infantry, motorized, or mechanized. All infantry battalions. This is big. So that tells me if you are going down this doctrine path and you're making a tank division which will have motorized or mechanized on it, you'll be taking advantage of the supply reduction with logistics and also the extra defense overall for the motorized and mechanized. So to be fair, if this is the doctrine path you're going for, it goes without saying that every tank division will have this on. I mean, to take advantage of the supply is one thing, but to take advantage of the defense is massive as well. As mentioned above, we have more planned for these, but you should serve as an indicative sample of what is coming. What is coming? I think we're seeing more doctrine changes. It should also give a boost to some underperforming support companies, particularly Recon and Signal companies. They are desperately in need for a buff. As far as I'm aware, in multiplayer meta, do people still make Signal companies? They used to be the old meta. I can't remember. I've not played MP in ages. Well, additive and multiplicative modifiers are also available to use on line battalions, something like diminishing returns for adding more artillery. That would add a lot more to compute when we don't intend to use it. That makes sense. So what it's basically saying is if you over bloat a division by adding too much artillery on, could these bonuses be diminished in returns? And he's saying no, because it'll probably add too much computing side and slow down Hoi 4, which is not good. Is it possible to add extra infantry equipment needs from support companies? For logistics, for example, adding 10 trucks for every line battalion. So what they're suggesting there is, could this do the reverse? Could the bigger the division potentially require more equipment overall, which just actually makes sense in a way. Surely a logistics company would need more trucks depending on how big the division is. Oh, that's interesting. It's something I'm considering, but not currently possible. Oh, okay. It looks like the engine isn't possible. Is it an engine thing? I'm not sure. And may you add some spirits that use or enhance these changes to support companies? This is a good suggestion, this. As a part of the Doctrine spirits, could they affect overall how these bonuses are affected? Right now, only technology and doctrines can affect these. It's possible to make spirits indirectly do it, but it's a little awkward. Interesting. So it must be more engine limitations again. I know the devs want to fix no one using ACs, but this won't do it. Armored cars? It also introduces a rather ridiculous situation where armored cars with armor appropriately will give you an org bonus if someone used a tank designer to make a tank on wheels. Okay, there's a lot to take on board with this comment. I've already stated a few times that armored cars belong in the tank designer. Oh, wow. So it looks like an armored car designer is coming at some point. Confirmed. We won't be making that change this time, so it is coming. So what he's basically saying is they understand armored cars are not really used that much. We're trying to buff them to incentivize people to use them. But overall, in future, we are looking to the idea of adding an armored car designer similar to the tank designer to have them all in one place as a part of the armored car tank designer as such. Armored car designer is confirmed for the future, but not the next expansion by the looks of things. These are great and interesting changes. Is it possible to use these changes to give units modifiers for defense and attack to a specific unit, such as light tanks? Oh, I'm almost certain you can't do this because this is like engine restrictive. This would be a fantastic change for most of the Hoi 4 modders, I know myself included. I'm afraid not. That's a very different kettle of fish. In a weird way, hard and soft attack is kind of the way Hoi 4, the engine, the way combat works, knows if it's attacking infantry or horses or armored cars or tanks, for instance, based on soft and hard attack. And that's kind of how the system is simplified. I really like the concept of support companies giving bonuses only to specific types of division. However, have you ever considered altering doctrines so that support companies could also buff other types? Like maybe mass conscription could alter recon so it buffs infantry too, or something like that. I mean, in all fairness, that's exactly what's happening here. The doctrines are up here are altering the effects of what the support companies do. So now doctrines are dynamically buffing a division based on what support companies are using. So basically, dynamically now, with mod support, you can modify divisions by researching technologies or by modifying doctrines. Wow, guys, there's so much to take on board here. Armored car designer, confirmed. Soft doctrine rework, confirmed. Soft support company rework, confirmed. Loads of changes, more to come. However, this is just a brief overlay of some of those changes that are being made. Damn, guys, this is the biggest and best dev diary so far. Now, a lot of this isn't mind-blowingly different, but this changes the core mechanics of how playing Hearts of Iron 4 is going to be. So it's going to be really cool to see how new methods are generated from this new information. If you want more progress of future expansions for Hearts of Iron 4, as well as the future dev diaries, give a click to subscribe to this channel. And if you want more of this kind of content, there's a video right here for you. See this one here? This one? Click it. Go on, give it a go.